Alright, welcome ladies and gentlemen to a BlazeCasting presentation, bringing you guys a game from the Sunday Evening Cup Series, brought to you by NA Dota. So I am here casting this game between One More Hit and Tag, and it is the round one apparently, and it's going to be me casting with my buddy Rainmaker here. How's it going, man?
Oh, it's going absolutely fantastic. I'm really excited to be here. Always a big fan of SECS since it's, one of the last big North American tournaments. Also, I'm going to go and fix my broadcasting settings.
Okie dokie. Hopefully apparently my webcam's messing up too, so I'm going to fix that real quick. Awesome. Don't even have it set up. Alright, well, now they're just going to go into the bands real quick, and we'll edit a couple settings to get going, and from there we will get into the cast itself. But thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll have some awesome game action going on in just a minute. Once we figure out these couple little things here. There we go. Bam. Well, bam. Well, now that we have all that figured out, and hopefully he has me muted as co-broadcasters, etc., we'll be getting on into it. Though they are taking plenty of time in the banning stage, just kind of getting focused on how they want to draft, how they want to build their team, and kind of going from there. I haven't seen either of these teams play, but I'm sure, as they are all in for the win in this tournament here, in this, I think, round of 16, they're both going to be trying their best to stay out on top. So it looks like it's going to be first pick available to the Dire here. Glint captaining up on Team Tag. And One More Hit, I guess that it would be AZ. The international would just be indicating their geographical status. But they do have one stand-in. Maverick is replacing one of the players there, but we'll see how that works out for them as they move along. But we do see early on a Templar Assassin ban as well as a Magnus coming out. I think the Magnus ban is a lot more common based on a lot of the games that we've seen recently, specifically around DreamHack. Some really good play as that Magnus solo mid or suicide lane enables him to set up some really good fights, especially when he's coupled with an AoE cleave hero like Sven or Tiny with an Aghanim Scepter.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see the bans from both teams. I think that each team is trying to protect their mid lane as much as possible. Heroes like TA and Batrider are very oppressive in the mid lane, and you don't want to give them away. First pick Bounty Hunter, though, by Tag, and this is a very strong pick. Bounty Hunter basically allows you to go, even if you don't have the best lanes early, once you start fighting, you will have a huge gold advantage, because every single track kill just goes and pushes all your heroes to the next level in terms of items.
Very cool, very cool. Bounty Hunter is a really good first pick. That Darkseer ban definitely opens the door for him to come on out, along with a couple of top tier heroes like Undying, possibly Rubik, things along those lines. But yeah, it's interesting that the Sven was picked up outright as the secondary pick. I mean, you generally don't pick up your carry that early on unless you really want to get some crazy synergy going. Sven is an amazing carry, don't get me wrong. God's Strength buff really brought so much more to that hero, but without a vacuum from the Darkseer or a reverse polarity from the Magnus, it's going to be hard for him to get some real setup. He's going to need a lot of support action, but I'm looking at most likely One More Hit wants to go for building an aggressive tri-lane around this Undying. Go for Sven, Undying, possibly like a Jakiro twin-headed dragon. That would really just make this overwhelming lane that up against a Bounty Hunter, they can just grab sentries, or up against in a 3v3, they will thrive so much with a huge amount of kill potential and control that lane very, very extensively.
Yeah, it's going to put a lot of pressure on the early game for Tag, because both Undying and Sven now can carry very effectively even into the late game, but Undying will kind of taper off. So it's up to Tag to go and pick a lineup that will not, lose every single tower early. They should put some emphasis on AoE counter push. Jakiro is a perfect hero in that instance, and Queen of Pain. So now they've Queen of Pain also gives them a good amount of mobility, so they can be active on the map with that Bounty Hunter and kind of, push aside the aggression from One More Hit's lineup. I am curious to see if they're going to be going for an aggressive tri-lane and what kind of heroes they might be picking up. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lone druid pick up. That's really interesting.
Very interesting. Well, one thing I want to mention real quick before I jump into the Lone Druid is I do like the Dire's drafting style in general, where they're kind of covering all their different lanes. They got Bounty Hunter on the off lane, they secured him immediately. Jakiro as the lane support and Queen of Pain as the mid. Pretty much right now the current meta is obviously the 3 bans that come out in the secondary banning phase will be designed around counter synergy, trying to make sure that they can't get something that'll work with their lineup very effectively. So you can ban out a bunch of, if they haven't have their solo mid picked up yet, ban out a bunch of mid heroes. But they have one in each lane, so they are very, very flexible as far as the last 2 pickups, how they want to go with that. But the Lone Druid pickup is extremely interesting. It does add a bit more into that push that you were talking about previously on Dying, putting a lot of pressure early on, not only in hero kills, but also in the tower pressure. but Lone Druid himself can do a really good split push action with that bear. But one thing I don't necessarily like about Lone Druid as much in this metagame as in the previous one is that their games are a lot more fast-paced, and Lone Druid needs a good, let's say, 10 minutes to get some real major item action going. He prefers as few kills on the board as possible so that when he branches into about 20 minutes into the game, he's going to be dominating. He's going to be on top by far with the bear, just having possibly Radiance or a Battle Bear with the Orb of Venom, Maelstrom, whatever you want to build it. He generally prefers less action until he's ready to rock and roll. But with that, I don't think that that's going to be the case with Bounty Hunter wanting to roam and track up as soon as he's level 6, and we'll have to see how the momentum shifts around. But a lot of bans coming out. Why don't you talk about them for a bit?
Yeah, actually, I'd just like to talk about the Lone Druid for 1 second.
Okay, sure.
Because in this situation, if they're going to be running an aggressive tri-lane with the Sven and the Undying, that means they're probably going to be putting the Lone Druid solo safe against the Gondar. And Lone Druid will be able to shut down the Bounty Hunter quite well, just have complete lane control. And with that, he'll be able to, I wouldn't be surprised to see that AoE 2000 Battle Bear build. And if he shows up at like 13 minutes and their offensive tri-lane, does some significant damage, they will be able to kind of take control of the game and have a very strong 15 to 18 minute push. Really good bans coming out from TAG as they are getting rid of 2 of the best range supports. One big problem I'm having with One More Hit right now is they are all melee, and against the Queen of Pain, against Jakiro with that Ice Path, that's really dangerous. So getting rid of the Coddle, who is one of the best tri-lane supports, especially in an offensive tri-lane, and the Rubik, again, great offensive support. They're kind of preventing them from going into a super aggressive hero that will go and take that tri-lane to the next level and offer that kind of range support against these Bounty Hunter, Queen of Pain, Jakiro style heroes.
Yeah, definitely that's good action on their part. On the other hand, Radiant banning out a lot of melee type heroes, whether the Initiator, Tide Hunter, or the semi-carry carries with the Chaos Knight and the Lifestealer there. So they don't want to really, obviously the Dire lineup still needs something that'll go late game for them. Bounty Hunter is not going to cut it with that Janata scalability, so they're going to be looking for something that benefits for a lot from that track build. But thus far, they've just picked up the Enigma. That might indicate that they're going for a 2.5 1-1, where they have the Enigma in the jungle going in and out of the top lane, presuming they go for a defensive try, and try to get that Enigma up pretty quickly, get that Black Hole rolling, because Black Hole plus Macropyre and the Sonic Wave, that's a lot of really good AoE magic damage, but they have to set it up. One thing, big deal here is when Enigma can get that BKB up. Sven does have the Stormhammer pretty long range, and now Leshrac with the Split Earth is going to be available to try to lock him down. The Druid's bear root, I forget actually the name of the bear root, but whatever it is, it does stop channeling effects, but it's really, really difficult to actually get that to stop Enigma when he's black holing, because pretty much the bear has to be on the outside of it, and that means Enigma has to be on the outer ring, which is generally not going to be the case. But one way or another, the Undying is still going to have a lot of presence going on aggressive up against the Enigma. I would love to see now definitely the aggressive tri-lane, because that means they can move on into jungle, especially when Enigma's only around level 3, and try to lock him down as well if they get some good ward action up against that Enigma.
Yeah, it's going to... I'm not a huge fan of the Enigma pickup by Tag here, because given an aggressive tri-lane, especially with the Leshrac pickup, they can push down that tower very, very quickly, and that makes the jungle not a safe place to be. But really cool Gyrocopter pick here. Huge amount of AoE coming in from Tag. Gyrocopter is one of the few carries that has an enormous amount of presence in the early game, and that actually is going to be pretty effective just between Rocket Barrage and his homing rocket. It's going to be pretty effective at stopping dives, and because if you have the Rocket Barrage AoE going on, it does more damage to less targets. If you're going in to dive against the Gyrocopter, and I'm presuming the Jakiro, between Ice Path and Gyrocopter spells, you won't be able to do a lot of damage. He's when he picks up some levels, he'll also get into his AoE ult, which in synergy with the Enigma Black Hole, the Macropyre, and the Queen of Pain ulti, is going to do a ton of damage in teamfights.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's a really interesting pickup with the Gyrocopter. I have a question for you. How do you feel about the kind of Gyrocopter versus Luna debate? Do you feel that Gyrocopter would be more appropriate for this thing where you're talking about them diving, being able to single them out with the barrage and later the homing missile? Or do you feel that Luna, with her scalability, is going to be a better option for them? Obviously, they picked up the Gyrocopter, that's set in stone, but just in your mind, if you were Tag, would you have gone for that? Or since they fill kind of similar roles, would you have looked at the Luna instead?
I would probably pick the Gyrocopter in this case, because you also have to look at the synergy of Gyrocopter's Flak Cannon against zombies. In a team fight, when the Tombstone goes down, he's just going to go and clear out all the zombies for his team, and it's going to really kind of ease the burden on the Jakiro, on that Bounty Hunter, and, kind of neutralize that Undying, especially given that Undying's probably going to be playing a 4 or a 5 here, and not have the levels, not have the farm to make him a huge presence. That's not to say that Tag is going to, actually win their tri-lane, because Sven, Undying, and Leshrac, if they get some good stuns off in the early game, that you can be looking at a 3-4 minute tower because of Edict damage. So it really comes out to how they play it, but I think they have the tools with Gyrocopter to do well.
Definitely. Yeah, the Flat Cannon versus Zombies is very, very powerful, even early on, if he decides to pick it up at level 3 or something like that. Luna, her glaives don't get really effective against that until much later in the game. But they do pick up the Invoker, which is very interesting. Presumably, they're going to be actually running that as a solo mid. So Queen of Pain versus Invoker, not as favorable for the Invoker as it used to be. Cold Snap is still a very, very powerful mechanic, but it's going to be hard for him just to get the last hits early on. They might even have to pull him some regen just so he can get a Blaze of Attack or something like that, try to lock down some early last hits to get rolling, but I do think it helps secure that late game a little bit. Invoker does really good once he gets some experience going, and along those lines he does have quite a few spells that can stop that Enigma channel as well. The Cold Snap, Deafening Blast, Tornado, all those different things will help out in that regard, so pretty good action there. But I'm curious if the number 5 playing Leshrac is going to be enough to kind of make that bounty hunter think twice about ganking, because a lot of the ward action, both sentries and observers, is pretty much set for the Leshrac right now. He has that full burden on him, as Invoker generally doesn't contribute that much to it, trying to opt for a Force Staff or a Drum instead. So I definitely am curious if the Leshrac's going to get enough farm to be able to counteract that BH once he starts roaming.
Right, it really depends on, the Radiant is looking to get some pretty early towers, so if they go and get that kind of gold, then Leshrac and Undying will be able to go and afford those kind of support items to keep them from dying, but the mid game is going to be difficult. There's a reason Bounty Hunter's first pick material right now, and that's because it puts a huge burden on the other team supports. They stay poor, buying all these sentries, buying wards, keeping the game safe for the carries, but this way to counteract him is Bounty Hunter still needs 6. If you can go and kind of shut him down in lane, and then continue to go and get an early enough advantage to not, to have some bracers up, to have, treads or arcanes, to go and prevent him from just track golding up his entire team, you can kind of ride out that very dangerous period and prevent the Dire, in this case, from snowballing out of control.
Sure enough. So I guess we'll take the moment to introduce the teams a little bit. It looks like we have some rather difficult names ahead of us, but might as well get used to them now. So I'll take the easy route and look at one more hits team lineup. And it looks like Invoker is going to be picked up by Az or AZ. And then we have the stand-in Maverick on the Undying. Now we also have Leshrac picked up by Dread. We have CC picking up the Sven, and finally Lice on that Lone Druid.
On tag we have Glint, and we'll go with BV, because I know what that stands for, Gyro, and I'm not going to say it. And then we have the stand-in for Crook, Specially versus Living Things, which Specially is a good name, and Hyorin on the Gondar. Specially is on the Queen of Pain, and Crook on the Jakiro.
There we go. Alright, so have that going on, and we'll be looking at the lanes as they shape up. Interestingly enough, it looks like Invoker is going up top, maybe just to help out with the ward action there. He has pretty standard solo mid items, but yeah, they want to make sure that they can get some ward coverage up top. Enigma starting off with just some clarities, and so with that he's going to be jungling for quite a bit of time until he can get that soul ring up. But they're going to be looking to try to control this pull spawn here, try to drop some wards in that and control that specific position. That's pretty much the most key point in a 3v3 matchup up on the top lane here. So we'll see where they're going to go with that. But right off the bat, Jakiro has picked up some sentries, so they want to try to rely on that if possible. But even if they do get it unblocked from wards, I'm not sure if they can reliably stack and pull from it, because that puts them in a very vulnerable position, rather distant away from the tower. And Enigma really can't contribute that much until he hits at least level 3, if not 4, with that rank 2 Malefice.
Yeah, but I think they do need to counter ward this just so that Enigma can go and walk into the lane, because that ward is going to give some vision as he's going into that orange camp. And you want Enigma to feel a little bit comfortable in his woods. Also, something to note is that the Lone Druid has also picked up a pair of sentries, and this is one of the most underrated things about Lone Druid, is in a solo safe lane he can go and manage his own pulls, and that is very important, especially against a hero like Gondar, who is looking to go, planning the kind of sneaky ward here for blocking that pull camp. Looks like there's no action up top, just an illusion going and poking around.
Level 1 Flat Cannon on Gyrocopter, very interesting. They know the Tombstone can come out as early as level 1 and do not want to have to worry about that. But subsequently, if he ever pops that, if he's in the lane, he will be pushing out his lane a little bit there, and also not really adding much damage to the fight. in the sense that he's auto-attacking and harassing a bit, getting a couple hits on all these heroes here, but they won't even cost him half a tango. And in the same sense, yeah, he's pushing the lane away. And without the... actually, they did spawn right there, so that ward isn't actually blocking the neutrals.
Huh. That's very strange. I wonder... So, that could obviously be an accident, but if it is, in fact, on purpose, that could just be to go and... Well, no, because they saw the wards being picked up, right? So I would say that's probably a mistake on the Radiant side.
Yeah, you need to put it just a little bit further, and there's really not a good spot there. I think that you can put it down in the southern location here, and it will ward it off, but one way or another, they wanted to get as much vision as possible. Possibly here's the newest players that did work and Han in that exact spot, but not going to be an option here as the pole is still spawning and can get stacked up there. So that's going to be interesting how they make use of that now that they have that available. But yeah, right now Gyrocopter kind of pushing the lane out, and they're going to have to get some stacks and pulls up if they want to be in a safe position because, like you said, there's just so much destructive energy coming out of the Radiant lineup right here. Actually could go right now. Yeah, he's out of position completely. Starting off with the Stormhammer, following up with the Splitter. There's the Tombstone going on through. Gyrocopter, there is a nice ice path to delay the inevitable, but he is going to take a fall. Pops his barrage, but is not able to bring down Dread, and instead will just feed First Blood to the opposition. He was all by himself there with Jakiro really nowhere nearby.
Yeah, just a pretty huge misplay because that's the kind of momentum that if you give a tri-lane First Blood, an offensive tri-lane First Blood, they can finally, you know, they need that, right? Because otherwise they're just losing experience on their heroes. They don't have any pulls to go into. So now with that kill, they're getting some gold on their Leshrac and Undying. Leshrac can go pick up boots if he wants to. He already has a smoke for the woods. And Sven is able to farm pretty safely now. So all in all, that's a pretty huge loss for the Dire side. One interesting thing to note is the interaction between Warcry and the zombies, because that is... that's going to make it a little bit more difficult for heroes like the Jakiro to go and run away. I'm not exactly sure how much faster a bloodlusted zombie goes under Warcry, but I really don't want to find out.
That definitely is going to be like right on their heels no matter what. You can't really kite away from that. You're just going to have to kind of take it up, throw a couple flat cannons out because you don't really have any other choice. But yeah, it's a really good start for one more hits lineup here. They definitely need those kills to get rolling, and they do have a lot of push potential if they can force them off the lane once or twice more. But I gotta just say, the Gyrocopter is last thing right now. He was at 3, now under tower he's gotten up to 6, but nevertheless with that death early on, it's just inhibiting so much gold gain and experience gain. He's going to have a really hard time transitioning into a mid-game, late game carry.
Yeah, one thing with Gyrocopter is his base stats. He's got great growth, but his actual base stats are not that fantastic. So normally when you see him played, I've seen Wakamama play him a couple times, and they generally pull stats onto him, especially in a hero against a Sven, who is very good base stats, very good at controlling the lane. He's going to have a hard time farming, just purely mechanically. So it's going to be pretty tough on the top lane.
Sure enough. And along those lines, we'll mention real quick that Enigma is just about to hit his soul ring. He has not been harassed whatsoever, and he's pretty much getting free farm in the jungle. He's one of the faster junglers as he ranks up those demonic conversions to get more powerful Eidolons out, one-shotting one of the creeps immediately on that conversion, and now he has pretty much unlimited mana with that soul ring available. So if they don't actually contest his action, they do see him right now under the Radiant Ward that is covering up the top rune, but if they don't put some aggression on him very shortly, he's going to get pretty farm pretty quickly and be able to get some powerful items, whether a mechanism...
Top lane?
Actually, yeah, Stormhammer to start things off. Sunstrike to help out, but the Splitter is actually, yeah, it's going to land despite the Ice Path, and the Tombstone to do the trick. Undying's going to pick up that kill with his Decay and give him plenty of gold to start off. He can get boots or whatever he really wants to from there. Arcane Boots going to be very beneficial for this lineup in here because they are all very mana reliant.
One good thing for them... Oh, wow. I don't think they're going to be able to catch, though. That Undying is that Enigma is pretty far back, and without the Sven setup, I'm not sure how much damage they're going to be able to do.
Blint's playing very cautiously. He does not want to get caught out here, but the Splitter, if it does land, it probably will be his demise. The Tombstone will not be available, though, and he'll be able to walk away. He does have just enough movement speed to get out of there without a Splitter being a reliable stun. Not sure what Gyro thinks he's doing going in 1v2 when they just had seen them popping off a homing missile, so they do have vision on them for the time being, but now he is kind of all by himself. Yeah, he goes in, he does pop the barrage, which is a lot of damage. Queen of Pain is helping out, though. Nice scream coming in, rank 3, so Leshrak's going to drop really quickly. He does get the stun, but the Edict's not going to do enough damage as it dissipates among the neutrals and the other heroes. Nice Sunstrike attempt. It does land. Beautiful Sunstrike, and it does actually bring down Gyrocopter, getting a revenge kill there. And Queen of Pain did use a lot of mana there. Cold Snap going on through on the middle. The Tombstone had been already expended, so it won't be available. Blink goes on through, so she should be fine despite the Warcry. They were looking for that Stormhammer, but it just didn't go through.
Yeah, that was a very bold move by the gyrocopter. If a what is it, Splitter had landed, he would 100% be dead. But he had confidence that his Queen of Pain would be able to rotate quickly enough, and just went for it. And if you're behind like this gyrocopter, you kind of got to make those decisions. Good pickup on the poor man's shield as well, because he just does not want those zombies to go and absolutely destroy him. One other... Oh, he's probably dead.
Yeah, Sunstrike with the splitters. I mean, it's just too much stun action, and with the Exhort Invoker on top of it, it's going to be very difficult. The one thing, though, I don't think that Invoker will be doing as well up against the Queen of Pain solo, but that Gyro is going to have a very rough time with things.
Yeah, Queen of Pain was actually manhandling the Invoker until about, just 2 minutes ago. She was about doubling him in CS, but between those two kills and just, Queen of Pain having to go and move off the lane, Invoker's caught up quite nicely. He's got good damage. He's going for this Quas Exhort build, which is going to be great in terms of the pushing power of the Radiant. Going into those double Forward Spirits, the minus armor, that just the extra auto attacks is going to make it very easy for them to mow down these towers and get that extra gold. On the other hand, this Bounty Hunter is getting a good amount of levels and farm, so that is a problem, and I think that's kind of their hope. The Enigma, the Queen of Pain, are going to need to do a lot of work in the mid-game to go and give this Gyrocopter time to farm. Because Gyrocopter, given enough farm and levels, is actually a huge damage deal in this super late game. But it does not seem like it's going to get there.
Up top, Tombstone and Edict kind of wasted up, but Skirk will at least get the Ice Path, but he will get stunned up by the Splitters. That'll give a lot of Edict damage going on through. The Stormhammer 2 secure that kill. Now Black Hole does get popped off on 2, so they will be able to bring down 1, but the Sunstrike will do a lot of damage to Glint in the end. Maybe Maverick can bring him down before he takes the fall. He does indeed, but now he will drop down to the Janata. Good TP in from Bounty Hunter. Really needed that. I don't know if the track kill was at the beginning or not. I believe he must have popped off one track at least, but one way or another he needed to be there to help clean up.
Yes, the Leshrac was tracked before the kill, so really good rotation by the Bounty Hunter, and that's what he needs to do. Already has his phases, his poor man shield, and he's just looking to roam around. On the mid lane, looking at this Queen of Pain, I'm kind of curious what she's going to go for item-wise here. This wouldn't be a terrible game for Ags, just because it will allow you to go and mow down creep waves, but at the same time, maybe just saving up for that sheep will be more effective in the long run.
But Lone Druid taking up a tower on the bottom lane by himself while Bounty Hunter's absence persisted, so with that they got a lot of gold for their entire team, actually skyrocketing up the gold earned graph. That's definitely the highest lead they've had so far in the game. Picking up boots for himself. He has already phases and Venom on the bear, and the world is his oyster. He can go pretty much anywhere he wants from here, as he has a lot of momentum from that lane, being level 8, so that is the highest alongside Invoker, Queen of Pain, and Bounty Hunter, but he also has a good amount of gold to work with if he wants to move for that Radiance or what have you.
Yes, this Gyrocopter, it looks like they're going to be going on the Invoker mid. Scream of Pain popped, and he should be going down.
Yeah, good catch there. The track just gives them so much mobility, they really can't do too much more for it. They could even have gone much further under the tower with those illusions to tank it up. Didn't need to, obviously, but yeah, just picking them off, as that Bounty Hunter does exactly what Bounty Hunter needs to do, which is roam, and knock some people down really quickly and effectively, giving a lot of gold through that track mechanic. Looks like he's going to be going for the drum.
Yeah. One interesting thing is whether this Enigma decides to go for the Mechanism or straight BKB. It's really going to show how aggressive he plans to be in the game. I would personally think that a Mechanism is absolutely necessary since no one else is going to be able to get in a timely fashion, but he will need the BKB to go and keep his, to be able to fully channel Black Hole.
Yeah, they do not have pretty much any mechanic that will be able to pierce the BKB, so once he gets it, his Black Holes, once they start, cannot be stopped. However, like you said, the Mechanism is a really important ability and item for these team fights upcoming. There's a lot of front-loaded burst damage, and then there's a lot of damage over time that they have to deal with, especially like you're talking about the Sven. He's really aggressive early on with the Stormhammer and with some early cleaves with God's Strength. That is a bunch of front-end damage at the beginning of the team fights, but then as the team fight persists, there's going to be damage over time with people slowed up by the zombies that have Deathlust active once the individuals are on low HP, along with that Leshrac with that Pulse Nova will be doing a lot more damage if he can get some farm. Thus far that hasn't necessarily been the case, but you can't count out Assist Gold, adding in quite a bit of benefit there. So I think the Mechanism would probably be the best item, but both of them obviously going to provide completely different benefits to their teamfight potential.
Yeah, I'd just like to take a moment to point out the good itemization by the Jakiro player, Crook, on the Dire. Going for that magic stick is actually super useful against an Undying who's going to want to be spamming that decay whenever he can go and get off a good double. And if you're really poor, you're not going to... This is going to give you a lot of effective HP. Huge dive mid lane too.
Yeah, awesome skirmish going on through. It's actually going to be a 1-for-1 trade, but the track was on the Invoker. They started off with a quick pick-off, Bounty Hunter flanking in from behind the tower, and that was just really good to start off with some good TP action in. The Queen of Pain blinked right on top to deliver some real big hurt, but Dread made sure that it wasn't just a big loss on their part. They were able to get the Bounty Hunter out of it with some good edict damage as well as a Solid Splitter, so they were able to bring them down and force the Queen of Pain back. Now she is defending on the bottom, but she doesn't have her ultimate up for about 25 seconds, so she I don't know if she can go head-to-head with this lone druid. She kind of has to be cautious about it. In fact, gets rooted up and has to blink away, barely survives. Gyrocopter up on top. Full snap going on through on Jakiro. He's taking a lot of damage to that God's Strength, so he's going to take a fall, and Gyro does have enough mobility. I think he will be able to walk away. They pop the dust in case there was potential for Bounty Hunter to be picked up, but he's happily on bottom lane, not really caring too much one way or another, but the Sunstrike did go wide somewhere in the forest.
Yeah, this Gyrocopter's having a terrible time. He's 0-4 right now. He's not looking. He doesn't have any real room to farm. In theory, he could go bot lane and just try to go and pick up these creeps and freeze the lane right in front of that tower. But with that lone druid being so farmed right now, it's not even safe there. They're looking to push down top tower too, and that's even more space he's going to have. He's going to be unable to farm in.
Yeah, fortification pops, so that's going to drop really, really quickly. But here, the Black Hole got cancelled immediately, so that's very important for them. Stormhammer will finish the job. Entangle on the first hit to bring down the Gyrocopter, and they want to try to focus down Crook and Dread on really low life, but man enough getting the double kill. Queen of Pain wants to at least bring down one. Does not pop off the Sonic Wave, though. Just merely retreats the second she sees all of them. And the fact of the matter is, if Sven had that Stormhammer available, I believe she would have dropped 2. But, you know, taking 3 hero kills and a Tier 1 tower all for free is going to be well worth it indeed. And now Bounty Hunter is putting pressure on the bottom, but TP will negate that potential.
Yeah, you'll notice that the Sven has actually opted for the drums instead of just letting the Invoker pick it up. And I think that was just a matter of they wanted drums immediately for the bot lane. It looks like Bounty Hunter is going to be a little bit sad.
Yeah, it depends on really what the Invoker can get out of there. He needs one more auto attack, not going to happen. And the Sunstrike being on cooldown, he just couldn't get anything else out of it. With his current orb setup, he possibly could have added in like a quick Deafening Blast or something, but he wouldn't have gotten very much range out of it. So.
Yeah. But anyway, I think what they wanted right there is just to have that extra move speed, because even though they've been winning, both the supports on Radiant were doing, BlazeStrike does his Arcane up, and the Undying is close to the way there, but they're quite poor. They have, 1 last hit, 10 last hits between the two of them, and they needed the drums to go and pick off that tower. And while I'm sure the Sven would rather just get a fast Mass Madness, a fast BKB, he said, you know what, we're going to need these items, we're going to need to get this tower. Sure that Invoker will get it later, but more charges aren't necessarily bad. So, good pickup by him, good realizing that they need to kind of force the issue, because the Queen of Pain is strong. You don't want to go a long game against Gondar, because it's just a lot of gold the enemy's going to pick up.
Dread's going to drop down, picked off really, really quickly. They popped off the Shuriken early, used the Scream and the Sonic Wave underneath the track, and he's going to take a fall after popping off a couple skills of his own. And that's not a quick, easy pickup. That's what they need to do to stay on top of things. They are currently down 5 kills, and although the gold graph is not as dire as the experience one, they need to definitely move in that direction continuously.
Yeah. Good warding also by the Dire, kind of protecting their Gyrocopter, who's really desperately trying to find some items. He's only got an Aquila, boots, and a poor man shield. If he goes and is able to, maybe, I wouldn't suggest a Lothar's in this game, just because but a fast BKB might not be bad. Just going into like Yasha BKB, just giving you some presence in fights with the attack speed, the extra damage, and being able to go and not get storm bolted, for example, will allow him to do quite a bit of damage. Because again, you can't underestimate that flat cannon, that rocket barrage, and that homing missile. Even at low levels, they do quite a significant amount of damage.
Smoke up by the Radiant here, but while we're waiting for them to initiate possibly a mid lane, actually they're going to jump on in a matter of seconds, so I might as well just hold that thought until after this goes on through. But they're waiting for Queen of Pain to be a little bit aggressive, and the Dire just in general have been really very effectively cautious. The ward has expired up on the top, so they had no vision of this one way or another. This nice flank, Enigma's going to walk right on into it. He does go to the east. Do they have the range of the Stormhammer with the Warcry? I believe they will. He does get fogged out, though. He cannot see it. Now he can. Will they go in underneath the tower? They indeed do. It will bring down the Enigma all by themselves. The God Strength has button popped off, so if they want to go 4v5 against this, they will be taking a heck of a lot of damage. There's a Sunstrike on a cold snap. Beautiful action from the Invoker, bringing down the Queen of Pain before she can get anything off. Now a nice stun coming out to burn down the Bounty Hunter. He did pick up the Leshrac on the back end, but not necessarily worth it, as Queen of Pain had to pop a buyback just to secure their Tier 2 tower and the rest of the team fight.
Yeah, that was actually really good play by the Invoker. If that Queen of Pain had got her spells off, they would have had a much rougher time. They would have also got an additional track hold on the Dire team, and you can't afford that. You're looking to rotate this into a mid tower, and I don't know what Dire can do to defend it with, well, Sonic Wave is about to be off cooldown, so maybe between that, a couple Ice Bats, they can go and slow down the push.
But with the fortification already down, nice TP in with the blend. He did get stunned out immediately though, but beautiful ultimate coming out of Queen of Pain. Back and forth so far, Undying on really low life, but they are actually cold snap with the Queen of Pain. Oh, she does at least this time get the blink out. No Sunstrike to lock her down, but AZ is not done yet. He wants to go in aggressively. He has that force staff, dodges out the ice path. There is one more stun available from the Sven, just came up as far as mana goes, but now Bounty Hunter is in the action. The Gyrocopter gets a nice ultimate, pushing them forward, nowhere to go but up, and unfortunately that's to their death. They have lost 3 now, and they are also probably going to lose the Sven out of this if they get some track mobility, but nice fog juking from Leshrac, almost brought down the Bounty Hunter, but he was able to Magic Wand and get that Janata out to finish the job. Now it's only Sven that is alive, and with that homing missile, I think they can clean this one up too. Nope.
Is he going to go? But yeah, great play by the Bounty Hunter, going in, really just being super aggressive. The rotation of the Gyrocopter through the enemy was going back up and flanking, getting a nice ulti off. I was about to say it was a terrible fight because they used Black Hole and didn't really get anything, but, it ended up being pretty okay because Radiant was a little bit too aggressive and paid for it dearly. I don't know how many of those were track kills, but given that this Bounty Hunter is a decent way towards his BKB, and Gyrocopter's finished treads with, a Yasha in the bank if he decides to go that route. I would say there were quite a few. I would say there were quite a few track kills in that engagement.
Definitely. And one thing to point out is that despite the fact that Gyrocopter is definitely considered a carry based on his scalability, flat cannon, and his agi scaling, he also has a bunch of potential without items. He's not necessarily 100% item dependent, so with that call down, they were taking a heck of a lot of damage underneath it after all that had gone on through. They were already low from the Sonic Wave Black Hole, and so pretty much their only choice, they were caught in that big circle and had to move on forward. And that was the only way to get out of it, but it was right on into the open arms of the rest of the team. So they really, as much as it was good for a nuke of damage, it was even better for area denial, where they just knew they couldn't go in that area, or they would have get slowed up amazingly by that 50% slow of the second rocket that goes down from the call down. So effective usage of the ultimate there, and it forced them to take a lot more losses than they had previously intended, obviously. But yeah, that was generally a really good fight for the Dire and what they needed to stay in this action. Track kills across the board. Finally, for the first time in the game, puts Dire in the lead as far as gold.
Yeah, I think that just goes and shows the power of Bounty Hunter and why he is considered a first pick hero. Also to note that Gyrocopter has picked up a Mythal Hammer. I'm pretty sure he'll be going for a BKB, and with another 1,200 gold in the bank, he's only about 1,000 away from finishing that. When he goes and picks up his full BKB, he's going to be even more of an irritating menace in fights.
They don't have a Sentry Ward.
Oh no.
They popped off the dust. I think that did catch him, but he's just fast enough. He's able to get on out of there. It looks like the Sven has picked up the Aegis, so no engage there. They're flanking him pretty nicely, but if they go in one at a time, they're just going to take falls really quickly. They're trying to pursue Bounty Hunter, but he is very mobile with drums and phase of his own, so he should be alright.
Yeah, that's what excuse me. That's what Radiant needs to do. With the ults on cooldown, they can't really contest, and picking up a clear objective like this Aegis is going to go and give them that extra bit of gold. Sven's very close to his BKB as well, but losing a tower, losing top tower, having bottom tower, holy crap, what? Did you catch that?
A really good Bounty Hunter 1v1 pick-off. The Invoker unfortunately invoked Meteor. I don't know if that was a complete mistake. He could have just gone for like an Ice Wall and Force Staff across from it, but he decided to go with the Meteor, which he completely whiffed. He wanted to try to put out some counter-aggression. Cold Snap worked out, but no subsequent damage, so he wasn't able to deter the Bounty Hunter one little bit, and once he finally popped his Force Staff, he was in Shuriken death range, and the Shuriken finished the job, so nice little duel on half of Hyorin, or Snowheart Hyorin, and it's going to be a nice little track hill to set up for a tier 2 tower pressure, but on the other hand, on bottom lane, they've already taken down the tier 2 with that Edict and that massive Mauling Bear. I didn't mention the fact that I saw he picked up a Maelstrom, and that's going to give him a lot of attack speed, a lot of potential for Entangle procs, and just that much more damage to the towers early on.
Yeah, I think that was a trade favoring the Dire, because they really can't fight without the Black Hole, and while it is up, they still don't really want to fight even with a Black Hole. They're much better getting like single pickoffs with a Gondar +1 until their team, gets that farm. BKB is up on the Gyros, so they can force something, but even then, I think the late game does slightly favor them, while Radiant has the Sven on their side. The Undying's not scaling very well, and he's very, very poor. And this Leshrac, as a 4, he's not getting the kind of items to really go deep into the late game. He doesn't have that BKB. He's not going to be getting an Ags or anything like that just to tank up. So if Dire is able just to trade right now, they're more than happy.
Sure enough, sure enough. And yeah, I think that's going to be mostly what they're looking for, though. There is a nice table going on to mid. Alacrity does get popped off, and oh wow, Undying gets hit on the back end. So much AoE damage, macro fire on top of everything, falls down, etc. Black hole comes on through, pulls in 3. Didn't think it'd catch anything as they're all falling back, but they walked right on into it, and now the Tombstone's not doing anything for them. It looks like Invoker might get out with the QQ walk, but the Aegis of the Immortal from Sven will definitely pop off, and they should be able to lock him down. He does have his stun available in 6 seconds, but it shouldn't be enough. The Malefit stun, as well as the damage from the Assault Barrage and everything else. They get another track kill, ending dominating streak of Sven for 408 gold. So 408 gold to the Bounty Hunter on top of the fact that he had a rank 2 track. That's a 600 gold kill for him. Big, big money.
Yeah, big money, and now he's got his BKB done. That fight we saw how much damage Rocket Barrage does if it's just hitting heroes, and, you know, Gyro's able to stand in the middle of them. Just popping down Call Down, popping down Rocket Barrage, completely shredded the enemy supports. With that, I mean, look at the gold graph. It's going to be pretty rough for the Radiant to kind of come back now. 5,000 gold against a Gondar, against Jakiro, who's now got his Arcane Boots, against the Enigma, who's probably going for a BKB with Mechanism finish. The Queen of Pain going for that Ag, 600 away. I'm not sure what their plan is going to be. They just need to go and, like, hope that they have that good fight where Sven's able to cleave down, you know, 2 heroes immediately, and then they have a great Bear roots and push very quickly. The pushing power on Radiant is huge. Between Edict and Bear, they can go and mow down a tower if they have a good fight. The Roxas are still very fragile for the Dire side, but it's going to be hard to go and pin down the heroes like Gondar or Queen of Pain.
Yeah, completely agree with you there. And in general, I feel that the later game teamfight of one more hit is not really as synergetic as what the Dire have set up for. I mean, we just saw in that last fight huge amounts of damage from the Black Hole. Later on, it's going to be the Midnight Pulse along with that, and then of course the Flak Cannon, Call Down, Queen of Pain, Ultimate, the Jakiro, all that synergizes really well together, and the Bounty Hunter allows for the quick chase as well. But when we look at one more hits lineup, it's a little bit more scattered. We have some really good AoE stuns like the Split Earth and the Stormhammer, but don't have really a AoE cluster mechanism to set it up, so unless they engage over on a small slope, it's going to be difficult to benefit a lot from that. Same with Undying. He has the damage amplification, but it's stronger the closer he is to the opposition there, so he really wants to be right in the thick of things, and with same with the Tombstone, trying to stay on top of everything there. But those are good AoE mechanisms, but they rely on them already being clustered. On the other hand, we look at Undying, we look at Invoker, who has gone for a ton of Exhort. The Meteor can be good AoE, but again, only if they get the really good angle on it and get the good vector, go for the Meteor Deafening Blast combo. It will be a heck of a lot of damage once he gets a little bit more in his Wex and Quas, but nevertheless, it's going to be based on them already being grouped up. Finally, I'm going to hit on the Lone Druid. He is almost entirely single target. The Maelstrom will proc a nice little Chain Lightning occasionally from the Bear, but generally speaking, he's just trying to burn down one person really quickly. And though they have a bunch of different sources of damage, as they're losing the gold now, they don't have the items to really back it up until Sven picks up some really big items. So we are having to unpause come on out, but I just don't feel that if the team fight, the maximum, I'm not saying their team fight's bad, I'm just saying that Dire team, if everything goes their way, their team fight is much, much stronger.
Yeah, the other important thing is they don't have a way to stop Black Hole. So in the late game, even though Sven's going to have a BKB, you know, that's a very long stun, right? You're going to be sitting, he's going to sit there for 4 seconds and just regret. And while then, you know, he can get focused down. This Gondar is doing pretty serious damage. He's almost finished a Vlad's on top of that, and just, you know, due to levels, he's hitting fairly hard with that, minus armor from track. Then on top of that, you know, Gyro's getting damage now. He's going probably for an MKB, and that is going to do some serious work against this Sven, who's just going to be sitting there, you know, in a black hole, feeling unhappy.
Now, it looks like Bounty Hunter's picking up the Vladimir's offering. Given the fact that he is the only melee hero, really the only benefit I can see from it would be the +5 armor aura. Seeing as they're not going to be going for an Assault Cuirass anytime soon, do you think that that's going to be their best option just for survivability to keep the fight going on longer? Or should he have been picking up more gank-oriented items like a Desolator?
Well, I mean, there's also the bonus damage, and the fact that, they're still dealing with a Sven. And, they still have, even though Jakiro's got some great starting armor, he's going to get cleaved down. Same with this Queen of Pain. So, it's not going to be at its best in this game, but I think they should get it, because as we were talking about, they kind of have this late game advantage. So getting an item that gets them there, I feel, is in their best interest.
Mm-hmm. And now the Radiant were running around with smoke, trying to pick somebody off, trying to find somebody to catch out in the open, but unfortunately they lost 2 people out of the smoke as Enigma actually walked right on behind them, just kind of ships the night. They even had 2 really good Radiant wards up, but Enigma was not seen whatsoever with the night vision, and instead they just got 2 revealed out, so they didn't really have any choice but to fall back from there. Now they're looking at defending their tier 2 tower, and this is a big engagement. This, well, I won't say it will decide the game or anything, but it's going to be really important that whichever team initiates this most appropriately. But Bounty Hunter wants to go aggressively here. The Rocket already on the Undying can do a decent amount of damage to him. He's already on a quarter life, or 3/4 life, sorry. And with that, the tower has to be fortified up to try to hold it for just a little bit longer. 2 tracks are out. Leshrac wants to start off with a big stun, but the tower keeps on dropping lower and lower, and Blue is nowhere to be found. Invoker, now TPing in, but maybe a little too late. The tower goes on down. Black Hole on 1, Sven does get picked up, but now it does get interrupted. The Undying Tombstone doing a lot of work. Gyrocopter on really low life will get dropped down. Cannot just stand there and deliver the auto attack. As the Druid on really low, though, Bounty Hunter is going to be able to finish him off. Stun comes out from Sven, but he's just going to take a fall immediately after the fact. It's been really just back and forth damage, and not really targeted focus, though. Look at all these dire heroes that are in such low life, but they just blinked away or fell back slightly, and they were able to survive.
Yeah, that's the problem dealing against, AoE damage when you're single target. You can't really run into them, because then they'll be able to unload all of their spells on you, and they will hit. That Queen of Painel just shredded the entire team, and even though she's only level 14, with that Axe, it's a ton of damage. Now we get to see the pushing power of Enigma plus this Jakiro. When the tower is attacking this slowly, your Eidolons just will go to work on it, and looks like they're going to try to engage, but I think they're just going to take the tower and back out. I don't think this... Oh, first hit route.
That'll do it. Yeah, can't blink on out of that. And Bounty Hunter actually got picked off just from the Jakiro doing an early Ice Path and the Decay to lock him down. So that was actually 2 kills to trade off for that tier 3. And I guess that's alright, but it does leave your racks vulnerable, and they have to watch out for that in the near future. But one way or another, it is going to be 2 tower loss, and of course they completely dominated the Dire team, that is, the Team Tag dominated in that team fight there. Again, the Black Holes weren't incredible. It didn't go for the full 4 seconds or anything, but it was effective enough to really make Sven think twice about his positioning. He fell back, then when he jumped back on into it, his supports were practically dead. So with that, his BKB can only last so long, and he just has its limitations in that regard, where there's a lot of physical damage coming out from all fronts. But we saw just how squishy Gyrocopter can be if he is on the front line there. His teammates kept on falling back over and over. He really doesn't have an escape mechanism, so he was just standing there and auto-attacking and delivering a lot of pain in the process through that flat cannon, but he can take a fall just as easily if they can get some focus going on down on him, so he dropped pretty quickly there. But now pushing down on the tier 2 up top, and with all the TPs exhausted from that previous engage there, it looks like they don't even want to contest it. They're going to give him a free tower, and that's something you can't do at this stage in the game.
Yeah, one thing I like about the Gyrocopter's build is he's kind of going on the fact that, he's going to die if he goes to fight. Mantis Style's not really going to change that. So, oh man, they're forcing some TVs now, keeping them from rushing, so good job by the Gyro there. But what he's saying is, you know what, I'm going to get in the fight, I'm going to pop my BKB, I'm going to go use all my spells, and then I'm going to flat cannon. And that amount of burst damage is going to synergize very well with this Quap, with this Jakiro, with the Enigma. So he's kind of resigning himself to the position where he's probably going to die after his BKB runs out. He doesn't have any real survivability. But during that time, he's going to do a ton of damage, and that's damage they can't interrupt without making the Sven focus him down. And, Sven would be happy to kill the Gyro, but he also needs to deal with the rest of the heroes that are busy, destroying the rest of his team. And even while you're focusing Gyro, the way Flat Cannon works is he's focusing you and your supports.
Very, very true. So a really good distribution of damage, and ironically, I didn't just expect this whatsoever, but Gyrocopter has actually, out of all this mess, out of all these team fights, actually come out as top dog as far as GPM goes. They're sending some ping outs. They did see through this ward position here on the cliff. They were able to see south and see that Bounty Hunter was farming up the creeps in that location, that position. Now Roche respawns right when Radiant walks in, and they want to go very aggressively on that. But the Black Hole is available. They have so much AoE. This could be a complete massacre. They have the Blink Dagger available. They have a few seconds left. left to bring down Roche, and then it's going to be lights out for them, and here comes the most gigantic AoE. Oh my god, this is just a complete clusterfuck. Oh god, oh.
Well, they picked up the Aegis.
Yeah, that's something, but...
And they're all dead.
That was... I mean, going in the Roche pit like that, the Black Hole, the Aghanim's Queen of Pain, Sonic Wave, the Macro Fire, everything, complete disaster. There's really nothing that could have come positively to light from that. And yeah, they got the Aegis, but still taking a fall in the end. It's definitely cost them. I don't think that was a good decision whatsoever, given their position and the fact that they had no wards up on that top position.
Mind and body.
Yeah, that was pretty rough. It was kind of, it feels like Radiant realizes they're kind of on a clock now. Since they didn't go for that Radiance, they don't have a super late game in the terms of the Bear. And they went for something that was very risky. I think they could have probably drawn the game out and didn't have to go and commit so heavily to that, especially given that they didn't have wards. But, you know, kind of showing a little bit of fear and respect for the amount of damage coming out of the Dire in the late game.
Yeah, and Undying actually on really low life. He actually gets picked off just from a Shuriken and a little bit of Ice Path action there, opening up the potential to push in on these fracks now. That teamfight was incredible for them. The Roche was something they both wanted to contest extremely extensively, and now they don't really have the opportunity. The cooldown does get popped off. It will bring down a lot of damage on in. Leshrac already on low life, as well as the Invoker running for his life to track movement speed, as well as the drum, just giving them so much mobility and forcing them back. Now they can't even defend their tower. They need to. Obviously the Rats being so essential, but BKB popped on the Bounty Hunter. Just a couple more hits will bring down the Sven. He is not able to walk on through. Actually, he could have last hit him, but the Leshrac blocked him up a little bit. Now the Cold Snap comes out through, and Bounty Hunter is going to take a fall of the tower. Completely overextended there, but all the same, they took the melee racks, they took the range racks. Now they're transitioning to rotate mid, and it looks like the melee are going to fall there too. So that's 3 racks so far. Now they're going to have to fall back.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Radiant is going to be able to do anything from this point. I'm with just the amount of AoE on the Dire side, they can push out waves very easily, and just going and being forced to go and push out 2 lanes all the time is going to be very difficult. It looks like they're going for one last attempt to go and take down the mid racks and push for throne right now, which, you know, isn't the worst decision, because I don't know if they can draw this out any later.
Very true, very true. So, I mean, they have to kind of go now, but do you think, or even think they have the possibility of doing it, pressuring in with that? I mean, the Bear does have his Hyperstone as well as the Maelstrom, so he's doing a lot of single target auto attack damage very, very rapidly, but nevertheless, do you think that even in an ideal circumstance for the team fights, do you think they can really do that much to lock down the opposition now that they have 3 racks fallen? 4, sorry? Yeah,
I don't think they have any real chance, to be honest, but it is a best of 1, and I would be very surprised given how they've played all game. And, you know, I can't really say anything to critique One More Hits play. They played well, had a couple bad fights, and against the kind of lineup that Dire has, you just can't afford that given how early game they were going. But they've played very well, and I'm sure that, you know, even though it's double elimination, they want to go and see if they can force some pretty serious errors out of Dire and steal a game that they're otherwise, you know, very handily losing right now. Do I think they have a good chance? Do I think it's going to happen? Unfortunately not.
Yeah, I mean, the BKB is going less and less on the Dragonheart. He only has it available for 6 seconds now, but during that time period he can do a lot of damage with that Day Dallas, the Black Cannon, just delivering a lot of damage across the board, and that's going to be delivering a heck of a lot of hurt. Now, looks like Bounty Hunter with that Ultimate Orb, he could be going for a lot of different options, honestly, possibly Mantis Style, also Scotty, not the worst item in the world, synergizing with that Janata Slow, but one way or another, they pretty much have every single option as far as farm routes. They can go through the enemy jungle, through their own, and right now, as far as vision goes, Radiant Ward is about to expire on the bottom in about 30 seconds. All they have is the one defending their most defensive of position, which would be under their plateau here. Other than that, it's just a couple of sentries, and just unfortunate. A little bit more talking about what I was talking about at the beginning of the game, which is Leshrac's supportive warding, or whatever he has going on. He doesn't have the consumables available there.
Yeah, it was basically, you know, a phenomenal play by the Bounty Hunter and the Queen of Pain, going and just giving space to the team, and then just the amount of pushing power they have is, you know, it's comparable to the Radiant side, and it scales better into the late game. You know, Jakiro's percentage slow, then Eidolons are really good. You know, they just do more damage in general to towers, except for, you know, okay, the Lone Druid and the Sven do more damage to towers, but the problem is they're melee heroes, and you're going against a Black Hole, you're going against a Queen of Pain ult, you can't really fight.
Sure enough, sure enough. But yeah, now the BKB is up on the Enigma, and he has that Black Hole available, and it's going to get rougher and rougher for them. The Macrofire is now rank 2, and Ghost Scepter a pretty good pickup just to stay defensive and try to not get locked down too much by the Bear, by the Lone Druid himself, or by the Sven, if you can pop that up in an appropriate time period. But yeah, it's all, I mean, you can definitely see where the momentum started to shift towards the middle. That was where it was started declining, and now the golden experience up 20,000 on both counts, and it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to control it. I mean, reasonably speaking, I believe Tag might just have to wait until Roche respawns to make sure they have the potential to push on that top lane with that Aegis the Immortal. And would it be a cheese Roche, or?
This will in fact be a cheese Roche, yeah, so I don't know if they secure this Roche, I can't really see them losing.
Yep, so that's going to be the key thing there, and it's going to be very difficult for Rainmaker to contest it. Like we said, they're kind of pinned in. Now there is a Mjolnir available on the Bear, but it doesn't really add in much more than it already had available, even with the Alacrity on top of things. It's just going to add in some extra damage. One big thing will be Scythe of Ice coming out of Invoker. He only is like 700 gold away from that, and once he picks that up, it'll add an element they haven't had, which is that extra disable. But with the 3 BKBs coming out now, it's not going to be the game changer. It could definitely add in a lot to their lineup, but Queen of Pain's going to have one of her own in a short time period as well.
Yeah, I just want to go and pull up the last Ins and Nines. If you go and check that out, you can see the Gyrocopter's actually skyrocketed in terms of farm since his early game. And some of that is due to the fact that Gyro is actually a very good farmer in the late game. He goes and clears out huge creep waves with his flat cannon quickly, and he can just, go around the map, clear a wave, get out. They've given space for him to do so, and I think that's really all he needed. He's dominated Alpha Wolf just to go and give him that extra damage. With that lifesteal, with that crit, that BKB, I don't know if they can actually take him down quickly enough before he goes and shreds the entire enemy team.
Sure enough, sure enough. I didn't even think about that aura, but it does help him out quite a bit. So if you count the Vladimir's aura that will be around when Bounty Hunter's going on, he has a heck of a lot of improved base damage, and of course that Daedalus on top of everything. But yeah, he's delivering a lot of hurt. He has a Helmet Dominator now. You could even go for a Scotty after the fact. Those 2 orb effects do stack, and that's going to just add in a lot of survivability, but also a lot of high-powered damage. So I really like how the Gyrocopter has built up now that he's picked up a lot of farm, sitting at 556 GPM, and that definitely comes a lot from the 16 assists, but also you can't count out the amazing amount of CS that he's picked up since that early game. So yeah, Gyrocopter building for a good mix of survivability and damage, and enabling him to sustain in the fight while even if he's taking a lot of focus hits through that magic immunity from the BKB. He has used it a lot, but it's served him very well throughout the course of the game.
Yep, so we've got about 2 minutes to Roche. It seems like both teams are, well, I mean, Radiant's just keeping their lanes pushed out and hoping they can capitalize on the mistake, while Dire is pretty happy to farm jungles, farm waves when they can, just stall out. When this Roche comes up, I feel that Radiant is going to have to contest it, and that's probably going to be the fight that decides the game. Unless, if Dire loses, I don't think they'll probably lose their racks, but they can probably hold on, and the game will just go a bit longer. I don't think they're going to be able to throne in the time after Roche fight.
Not particularly. In general, I definitely think that if the fight that we're talking about forthcoming had happened 10 minutes ago, I think it would been much better chance for one more hit, with the fact the Meteor Deafening Blast that the spells used in conjunction really effectively with Stormhammer and with everything Leshrac brings to the table. I think it could do a really, really good combination of abilities, especially if Undying has his Flesh Golem nearby when that's going on. But unfortunately, with these BKBs up, it's all of those effects I just mentioned are almost entirely nullified, and they're just going to have to rely on just raw strength and positioning, hoping for a pick-off before that goes on through, and that's exactly what they're looking for with the smoke gank. They saw Enigma on middle lane just a moment before, possibly, but the lane is all the way pushed out, so I actually don't think they did, and with that, they're just kind of running around in the dark, blindly hoping for somebody to walk right on into them, but Roche will be coming up in only a few seconds time, and that's going to decide everything. Bounty Hunter goes invisible. They did have a gem, or no, actually that was Jakiro that was having the gem before. They pop off sentries, they pop off dust. They hope they can find something because they know that their smoke had expired just a few seconds before it would have naturally done so, but nevertheless they don't really have that opportunity now. They're out in the open, they know it, and they're just going to fall back, but that leaves Roche open completely to Team Tag.
Yeah, the problem when you have 2 racks gone is the enemy team can tell pretty easily when you're going for a smoke gank, because you're not defending your base towers, so they just had to fall back a bit and play it a little bit safe. When you're ahead, I feel that a lot of teams, a lot of rather viewers go and complain when they see teams go and play super slowly like this. But there's no reason to go and throw away a game that you have in the bag. And I feel that while this isn't the most action-packed, 10 minutes since the last rush, the Dire's just done a good job playing it out. And with this Aegis on the gyro, I don't know if is it okay. No, Queen of Pain had an illusion route. Gyro, in fact, got the Aegis. Do you see the cheese is on the Queen of Pain as well? And they're just going to be able to go down mid and end the game.
One more smoke popped up. Last-ditch effort to try to make something happen here. Radiant really want to lock this down. They do have a Sunstrike, which was that scouting Roche? I don't even see the crater anymore. But it was actually
no, they just
right
went in the high
position.
ground.
That's weird. But one way or another, they don't really have any way of locking down the opposition now, unless they find them all by themselves. But right now, all 5 of them are grouped up, moving into the Radiant jungle themselves, and so the smoke from the Dire might be that much more effective, with Gyrocopter now having the Eagle Song and still has the buyback available if he does need it. So that's what he's going to be looking for as they move on in to swoop in and try to pick up a quick kill here. The stun does start off with the homing missile. Splitter already wasted on some creeps. Now the Sheepstick to start things off. Sven is disabled, but nice deathling blast coming on through. Could be taking a lot of damage. Pops the cheese immediately, but a beautiful black hole coming on through along with the flak cannon, sonic wave, everything just goes on through and completely obliterates the Radiant, and that's going to be a good game. Well played, called.
Yep, and I would say this was a good game from both teams. I feel that Radiant's biggest problem here is they kind of were schizophrenic in where they wanted to go with this game. Invoker needs a ton of farm, so that last pick, it meant that their early game was weaker. If you look at him now, he still was sitting at, level 16, I believe it was? He doesn't even have access into that level 4 Invoke. With that, he wasn't able to contribute as much to fights. He didn't have the high level of Wex, so his meteors were, very short. They needed everything to go perfectly in fights, and they just weren't able to get that. Their early game was very strong, but, it just petered out. Then the power of Bounty Hunter with that extra gold kicked in. The power of Black Hole kicked in. And Dire was able to take out a game. Very hard-fought and good play from both teams.
Definitely. Do you think there would have been a better option than either the Lone Druid or the Invoker to draft up to try to put up a little bit of pressure in the other direction?
Yeah, I feel that the Lone Druid was a fine pickup. I wasn't watching the lane very closely, but it feels like Bounty Hunter got a little bit more farm than he necessarily should have in that lane. But the Invoker, I think, was probably a mistake. Maybe something that could be a touch more aggressive. The Batrider was gone. The TA was gone. Tinker also was gone. Tinker does fairly well in if you're going again. To stopping pushes, definitely. So the Enigma would never be able to split push with that Shakira, with that Quap, just marching out the wave would keep the pressure on the Dire side of the map, but again, Tinker was banned out. So off the top of my head, I can't think of another really great solo mid hero that would be able to fare well against the Queen of Pain and bring a lot to the fight.
Yeah. Was Rubik banned out as well?
Rubik was banned out, yes.
Yeah, so
in the
that
second
would leave
phase.
something like Shadow Shaman or Night Stalker, which they already had two